welcome back to the Distressed Princess. Here are the Dollar Tree DIYs I'm working on today. I've always admired these antique looking mesh food covers, and I decided maybe I could make one using Dollar Tree items. For this DIY, you'll need one of these hanging planters from the Dollar Tree, and we will be removing the chains. And you'll also need one of these white or black, it's your choice, one of these baskets from the Dollar Tree, and I had already used this one in a previous project, so I had rope around the top and bottom. The chains on the basket are pretty easy to detach. They have clips on the ends. Then I removed the rope that was around the top of my basket, but of course you won't need to do that. Then I used wire cutters to cut around the top rim of this basket. I only had one piece that was standing up, so I cut it off, but cut off any pieces that are out of place standing up. And then I repeat this process and cut off the bottom of the basket. You won't believe how easy this transforms. This is, I think, the coolest thing. The top end of the basket, the wider end, fits down almost perfectly over this planter basket. And you just keep sliding and sliding and sliding, just adding pressure, and that basket will stretch and go around the planter basket. Then to hold the white basket into place around the top frame, I'm using this black wire that's from the Dollar Tree, and it's very easy to use, very flexible, and I just go around each one of those black pieces that is the frame of the hanging planter and wire it to the white basket. Also, I didn't wire to the bottom row of the white basket, if you can tell what I'm talking about, because that's where I cut it, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't using a row that might be cut. So I wired to the second row of wires on the white basket. Then you'll need to form the top of the dome, and this was much easier than I expected it to be. All I did was fold down the top of that white wire basket, and it molds right to that frame. So I took an extra long piece of that black wire and I threaded it through the top side, pulled it down the bottom side, and twisted it into place. Then for extra security, I threaded it back through to the top side and twisted it on the top side as tightly as I could. And then finally I threaded it back down to the bottom side and twisted it one more time as tight as I could to hold all that basket into place. And believe me, it holds perfectly. And I cut off the tails. For a handle, I'm using a large wood bead, and I'm going to glue it on the top using the super glue Fix-All adhesive from the Dollar Tree for the permanent hold. It works just like E6000, but way cheaper and not as fumey. And I'm also using hot glue for the immediate hold. I'm so happy with my Dollar Tree antique reproduction. For the next DIY, I'm using these two foil pans from the Dollar Tree, this hanging plant basket hanger that I took off of the last DIY, and also a piece of this unopened plant hanger chain. So the first thing is to glue the two foil pans together, of course, after removing all of their packaging and such. And also you can use E6000 or that super glue for extra security. I decided that super glue might be a better bet because sometimes hot glue doesn't want to play nice with metal. So I went ahead and used the super glue on the handles. Now, to turn this foil pan into galvanized metal, you want to use 3 colors of paint. And the first color I'm using is a silver color, but a lot of people use any kind of a gray. I just happen to have this silver, so that's what I'm using. And I'm using my sponge brush. A lot of people like to use makeup, the little triangle makeup applicators, because you kind of want that straight line aspect to your paint going on. And you'll see why in the end it just makes it have that galvanized look. The second color you use is black, and you do the same technique, just pounce that black all over the pan in various places, making those straight edge lines. And then the third and final color is white, and you do the same thing on top of the black, but at the end, after you make your first little marks, let's call them, then you use your sponge brush or your makeup applicator sponge to blend them all together. And in the end, you get a galvanized looking metal, and it looks darker on camera than what it is in real life, but just play with those colors, adjust it however you like. Now it's time to attach the chains to our pan. You need 4 chains, and the hanging basket from the first DIY only had 3, and the unopened package only had 3. So I'm going to have to combine them. I took 1 chain off of the unopened package and added it to the first. And they're really easy to detach the links. Just use pliers or any tool that can pry apart those links, and you can just take links off, attach them back, and make 4 chains. The chain that I took out of the unopened package was longer than the other 3, so I had to remove a couple of links from that chain. If I had this to do over, I maybe would buy 2 of the packages of plant hangers, and that way you'll have all the same length chain. And I'm using 4 chains because I want this pan to be completely balanced when it's hanging. So I'm going to attach 1 chain to each side. So that means there's going to have to be holes in this pan in order for these clips to have something to hang on to. So I used a drill to drill holes on each side. Then just use the clips on the chains to attach them through the holes. And because we used 2 pans, it's nice and sturdy. And for this DIY, I'm using a Easter sign from the Dollar Tree, a garden flag from the Dollar Tree, and 2 packs of the large paint sticks. First, remove the hanger from the sign and also the bunny or any other embellishments that may be on the sign that you're using. Remove all of that so all you have is the board. We're going to use the garden flag as the design for our picture, and I want it to go on the back of the board where the glitter is not. And I also want this board to be painted white so that it'll have a nice clean background, because it does show through that thin garden flag just a little bit. So I wanted it to be white. Then I'm going to cover the glitter side of the sign with brown craft paper just to give it a more finished look, because this is what my friend Sammy Veltri does over on Unicorn Dust Designs. If you haven't seen her channel, you should go over and check her out because she's brilliant. So the way that you cover the back, or the easiest way, is to just hot glue down around the edges and then flip this whole thing over and cut away the excess with a utility knife. You'll need to cut off the end of the flag that has the stick in it. Then stretch the flag around the front side and wrap it around the back, and use hot glue to glue it in place. Then I used the large paint sticks to create a frame around the picture. And I wanted to go around the whole outside and not go on top of the picture because I didn't want to cover up all those pretty lemons. And so making the frame is really simple. Just use your paint sticks to see where you need to make your cuts in order to make a box around the entire board. And then I just used my handsaw to cut these paint sticks. And I'm using Rust-Oleum chalked in linen white to paint the paint sticks. It only took 1 coat, and I did all sides, the ends, the whole thing. I used hot glue on the edge of the paint sticks to attach them to the edge of the board. And then I ran a line of hot glue all around the edge just for good measure. To make the outside frame more stable, I used some scrap pieces of wood, which are just regular paint sticks that I had cut pieces off of, and I hot glued them to the back. Now this part is optional. The flag, the writing on the flag was pretty green, and I really wanted those words to be black, so I went over the words with a black Sharpie marker. Also, it was at this point that I was wishing I would have ironed this flag because it does have wrinkles. I used some extra greenery that I had on hand. I honestly can't remember where this came from. I want to say the Dollar General store, but I can't say for certain. But anyway, I'm using 4 pieces on each side to make a swag, and I'm using green floral wire to tie it in the middle or wrap the middle. And then I used a whole gob of hot glue to attach this because this greenery was pretty stiff, so I needed a lot to hold it down. And then I made a bow using this really pretty burlap and lace ribbon that they have at the Dollar Tree. And this time I used a new to me technique for making this bow, and that is to form 2 circles, a larger circle and a smaller circle. So with the first circle, I just kind of held it up there to see, how big I wanted the bow to ultimately be. So that will be your larger circle. And then cut another piece of the ribbon just a couple inches shorter than the first piece you cut. And then form a circle and use hot glue to hold it in place. And then do the same thing to the smaller piece of ribbon. Then stack the 2 circles, one on top of the other, the smaller one on top, of course, and scrunch them in the middle to make a pretty bow shape, and then secure them in the middle using a piece of floral wire. Then cut another piece of the ribbon to use for tails and secure it in the back with the same floral wire that is holding the middle of the bow together. And then cut dovetails in the ends of the ribbon. And then I covered that floral wire with a piece of jute string. And then attach the bow using hot glue. And the final step is to add a hanger on the back using a piece of jute string and a popsicle stick to hot glue into place. And now you have something for spring in your kitchen. And here's a look back at the first 2 DIYs today. Thanks for watching my video today. If you liked these DIYs, please hit the like button and comment down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!